Good day, everyone. This is Superintendent Meg Mayo Brown with a BPS Community update for September 10th, 2021. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 21-22 school year. Today's video update is intended to provide some information around our COVID response as we open up this school year. In today's video update, I plan to cover what's different last year compared to this year, what our universal COVID protocols are across the district, some information we have regarding a new option for COVID testing in schools, and again, to review our data dashboard, which was in place this year. I do want to note that as compared to last year, we had many district-wide protocols. Some of those protocols certainly remain, particularly around masking and mask breaks and quarantine. However, what's different, slightly different this year, is schools have developed many of their own school-based procedures and protocols regarding lunches and mask breaks and things of that nature. So you should be hearing from your school building principals around what specific protocols exist across or within rather our 9 schools. So what's different this year? No masks are required outdoors. We've removed 6 feet of physical distancing. Most of our classrooms are providing 3 feet of physical distancing among students. We're able to lift some of those restrictions because the Commissioner of Education has lifted those restrictions for public schools across the state. Mask breaks can occur outside and inside this year. And importantly, our notification regarding positive student cases are at the classroom and bus level. So we are no longer providing a school-wide notification when a positive case exists in a classroom. Rather, the parents of students in that classroom or the parents of students on the particular bus will receive notification letters from us. Those notification letters could indicate that a student is a close contact but does not need to quarantine, or that a student is a close contact, does need to quarantine, and information will be provided by the school nurse, or simply that your student or your child was, there was a positive case in your child's classroom or on the bus, just a general notification. And we do have in-school COVID testing options this year that are available only with parent consent. So I'll address that in an upcoming slide. What remains unchanged this year? Masks. We are under a Massachusetts mask mandate issued by the Commissioner of Education until at least October 1st. He has indicated that schools will be permitted to lift that mask mandate if the school can achieve an 80% vaccination rate across all staff and students. So for us in Barnstable, that means Barnstable High School would be the only one of our schools currently eligible to achieve that vaccination rate. Since the vaccine is available for individuals 12 years of age and up, that is only going to, we would only be able to get to that rate at the high school. That's not going to be possible for Barnstable Intermediate School because about half of our population at BIS is not eligible for the vaccine under current conditions. We do have exemptions for masks. If you're interested in understanding what those exemptions are, it is with a physician's documentation that your child has a medical or behavioral reason that requires a mask exemption. If that applies to your family, please be in contact with the school nurse, and our school nurses can help navigate the need for that documentation. The other area that remains unchanged is the definition of a close contact. A close contact still is within 6 feet for a cumulative amount of time of 15 minutes or more. What has changed is our quarantine protocols are different depending on the circumstances of the close contact. I will go over that in a upcoming slide. We continue to do contact tracing this year. It's important to us to understand if there is a positive case identified in a school that we can quickly identify the close contacts of that individual. We're continuing our infection prevention measures, which means please stay home when ill. We're encouraging all of our families and our staff, if an individual is symptomatic, please stay home. We're also implementing our hand hygiene protocols, as well as our air quality, air exchange protocols as well. Our BPS data dashboard continues this year, so that we are publicly publishing the number of cases within our schools. And our Barnesville Public Schools Steering Committee continues to meet so that we can review our protocols, make adjustments accordingly. The biggest change I want to point out for folks is really the quarantine requirements for individuals who are considered close contact. Remember, a close contact is a close contact. That definition, within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, has not changed. However, what has changed is some close contacts are now exempt from quarantine as long as the individuals are asymptomatic, so without symptoms, monitored for symptoms, and wear a mask indoors for 14 days from exposure, and most importantly, meet one of the criteria that's identified below. So the criteria, if an individual is fully vaccinated and exposed in school, that individual is exempt from quarantine. The second exemption is if an individual is exposed to a positive case in school while both individuals were masked and spaced 3 feet apart, the exemption can apply. And again, that's why we're keeping students at least 3 feet apart to the greatest extent possible. The third exemption is if an individual had COVID, which was confirmed with a PCR test within the last 90 days. And the fourth exemption is a close contact on a bus. So close contacts on a bus are exempt as long as the individuals on the bus were masked and the windows were open. And when we say windows open on a bus, we mean 1 inch or more, so that there's good quality air exchange on the bus. When exemptions do not apply, so if an individual does not meet the criteria on the previous slide, here are the varying quarantine scenarios. There's a 7-day quarantine, which means the individual can return to school on day 8. However, to be eligible for a 7-day quarantine, the individual must be without symptoms, must have received a negative test, and that's a PCR antigen test on day 5 or later from the exposure, and must be able to actively monitor symptoms through day 14. The 10-day quarantine is when the test opportunity is removed. So a 10-day quarantine happens when the individual is, again, without symptoms and can actively monitor symptoms through day 14. And a 14-day requirement is any close contact who cannot actively monitor symptoms for 14 days. I've noted on the bottom that if there is an exposure in a household with a member who cannot be isolated in that household, there might be extended quarantine requirements. If that is occurring in your household, please speak to your school nurse so that they can help determine the amount of quarantine that would be necessary. The greatest risk of needing to quarantine happens during our school meals. And why? Because students are unmasked. A close contact is considered within 6 feet for a cumulative amount of time of 15 minutes or more. And most students are 3 feet apart during school meals. And when we say school meals, we mean breakfast, snack, and lunch. So this combination of being unmasked, the duration of our school meals, and the proximity of being less than 6 feet creates opportunities for close contacts should a positive case be realized in the classroom. So any student within 6 feet of the positive case during a meal will be considered a close contact. Why is the risk reduced during non-meal times? Because masking is the difference. In most instances, students will be exempt from quarantine if they were exposed to a positive case in school while both individuals were masked and spaced at least 3 feet apart. We do have some new options for COVID testing in schools. These options are available only with parent and guardian consent. We have 2 types of testing, symptomatic and test and stay. Symptomatic testing is a rapid test that can be used when a student is showing symptoms at school. Again, we ask that parents and guardians not send children to school who are symptomatic, but if a child develops symptoms while at school, we do have this rapid test option. Regardless of the test result of that rapid test, the student will need to go home and follow up with a medical provider. Our newest option is something called a test and stay program. This is used for close contacts who are exposed at school, and we can administer a daily rapid test at school in lieu of quarantine. Participation is for at least 5 days after exposure. The student must be without symptoms, and students who are testing negative may remain at school. So again, the test and stay program is an option for parents to consider when you don't want your child to have to go through a quarantine. We can do the test and stay. Letters describing test and stay and the optional testing are coming out. You'll get those letters through our Blackboard Connect system, the same way that you received this video update. And in those letters, there'll be a live link that you can click on that will take you to a state page for registration purposes to provide your consent for your child to participate in this type of testing if you would like to do so. Our COVID dashboard is up again this year. This is a screenshot of our dashboard as of yesterday. This is available on our website. We will keep that regularly maintained with our data within schools. You'll see here as of yesterday, September 9th, we had 22 students in isolation with COVID. We've had 16 cases since we opened school on September 1st. The difference between the 16 and the 22 is we were accounting for some students who were already in isolation when we opened schools on September 1st. You'll see there the total number of students in Barnstable Public Schools, so you can get a sense of out of our overall population, how many student cases there are with COVID. And then the remaining information is related to staff, how many staff members we have in isolation with COVID, and the number of cumulative cases along with the total number of staff. Just a reminder in terms of terminology, isolation, if someone's in isolation, it means they've been identified as COVID positive. If someone is in quarantine, they are considered a close contact of a positive case. And sort of stay tuned for communication from your school principals regarding the upcoming decisions and protocols for field trips, open houses, curriculum nights, and volunteers. Our Barnstable Public School Steering Committee continues to meet on a regular basis. We continue to review and recommend adjustments or revisions to our protocols as we move forward. The Barnstable School Committee is also taking the opportunity to regularly review policies related to our response to COVID, and we'll make adjustments as needed and moving forward. So again, thank you very much for your attention to our update. Please be in touch with your building principals if you have specific questions about protocols at the school level or anything that I've gone over in the video update. We're here to answer questions from our families and staff and students. We want to be sure that our communication around our protocols is clear and transparent. And thank you very much.